Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
All right, we'll just give it a minute to let everybody in the room. I hate these Zoom updates now where you have to physically do it.
You have to let everybody in yourself?
Yeah.
Oh,
I
wow.
thought it did it automatically.
No, they put in these new safer, I guess they're safety kind of things, but you have to do them individually, or you can give everybody a code, but I'm too nervous to give everybody a code and then
Have there be problems?
Yeah.
but we'll just give everybody else a couple more minutes to join. All right. That might be it. Oh, no. Okay. I'll try to multitask so we can get started. Well,
Hi, Chris.
Welcome back to Social Hour, everyone. We're excited to be hosting you all again after a little hiatus. And the conversation that we're going to have today is about ways that we can prepare for career success in 2021. Something we're all looking forward to is the new year. So I have Jenna, who will be co-hosting with me today.
Everybody.
And then for those of you who are new or might just need a refresher, just a few housekeeping things. So we encourage this to be an interactive and engaging session. So please feel free to jump in and answer any questions or add any comments that you have as soon as you have them. Don't be shy. If you are shy, that's fine too. You can still participate. By writing all of your answers in the chat function. Jen and I will be monitoring it and we'll call out any questions or comments that we see come through. So I think our goal at the end of this social hour would be to create kind of a nice resource document of everything we talk about today that we can share with everyone after. So we're going to be talking a lot about different maybe courses or books or groups, podcasts, strategies that everyone uses in their career. So if you have anything, type it in the chat and we'll be sure to include it. And we also would encourage you guys to share the document with your colleagues or your networks as well, just so we can all help each other out. Perfect. So enough with that, and we can get a poll going to kick us off. Let me just see if I remember how to launch the polls now. Cool.
All right, so our first poll is going to be on networking. We have here, what kinds of networking groups are you a part of? LinkedIn groups, Facebook groups, local associations and chapters and groups, or other. So if you guys want to plug in what you guys are a part of, I think it's multiple choice. You can do multiple if you want.
And we'll just give everyone a couple of seconds. I won't make everyone wait minutes. And then Jenna, can you see the results?
Oh yeah. All right. So looks like everyone, it's pretty even across the boards. Mostly Facebook groups, then LinkedIn groups and local chapters and groups. This one, I think to me I'm the most intrigued with what everyone has to say here, only because I'll be very transparent and honest. I hate networking. I think everyone gets a little uncomfortable when it comes to networking and having to do those types of things. So I'm curious to see, obviously, given the year that we've been in, a lot of our networking has gone virtual and online. So if anyone has any specific groups, Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups that you guys are a part of, we'd love to hear about it. Kind of how you find them, how engaging they are, and kind of what your biggest takeaways are for them. Like Rachel said at the beginning, we are looking to, kind of absorb as much as possible from everybody. If you don't feel comfortable talking, you can throw it in the chats. But we do want to put together like this really great resource for everyone to use afterwards. So does anybody want to talk about any LinkedIn groups?
Azure, do you know of any good ones?
Hospitality wise, no, I haven't joined any, but just profile wise, there's a lot of important things that you can do to your profile. Sometimes people are afraid to brag about themselves, but that's what your LinkedIn profile is for. So don't be afraid to put links to projects, or, start to create your own content, write blog posts, take pictures, videos, links to all that stuff. There's a featured section at the top of your profile that you can use to like visually give yourself a nice portfolio of things you've done, things you've been mentioned in. And then in your individual jobs that you've listed, you can link to those resources too. But yeah, don't be afraid to max out the characters in LinkedIn, with your about section, your headline, your job description, just because it not only gives people a well-rounded look at what you've accomplished, but recruiters are looking for certain keywords. And if you've got those in your profile, you might match a position that you're looking for, or a recruiter might just magically come out of nowhere and find something amazing that
just look at right? And watch.
Yeah, a little backstory for me. I was furloughed in March and was unemployed for about 6 months before finding my new home at Triple Seat, which I'm super excited to be part of the Triple Seat team now. But I think that was my biggest thing, was taking into consideration my profile, my LinkedIn profile, and like making sure that everything was, accurate across the boards. But I hate talking about myself, and I had to write my own, like a bio essentially about myself. And there's a lot of tips which we can link out as well to, ways like Azure said to enhance your profile. And we will talk about it a little bit later, but there are certifications that you can take, whether it's, Triple Seat University, or, there's other great resources out there. Google's doing a ton of, I think, free still courses that you get certifications for. And again, we're going to talk about later, so I won't get too much into it, but you can download those badges and put them on your LinkedIn profile, which will, definitely help to enhance that. But in terms of the networking side of things with LinkedIn and Facebook and these local chapters and groups, we do have a small list here of things that we've shared internally. One is hospitality trends on LinkedIn. There's Hospitality Superstars, which has over 140,000 members. Career advice for event planners and management. All of these groups are talking about a lot of, the trends that we're seeing every day, how things are, evolving in the hospitality industry. The hospitality industry is great in the sense that it's, there's a sense of camaraderie and everybody's kind of working together to get through this, and everyone's sharing their tips and their tricks within these groups. So, making sure that you're joining everything and anything that you can, just to kind of put yourself out there and learn and kind of get ahead of things, before, it catches up with you. But we will definitely, if anybody else has any, like I said, throughout this webinar, please throw them in the chat on the side, and we can look them up and add them through. But there are some really great resources and groups out there that I think that we can all get a part of.
Yeah, in the chat, Chantel had a great question. Are there any groups that you guys are part of or know about that help event planners find you guys? So like venue sales or catering managers. I'm a part of a lot of corporate event planning groups, and I will say, like, if I ever am looking for you guys, I don't think I really would know where to look in a group. So I don't know, does anybody have it? Are you guys part of any groups that help planners find you? No.
I know that the Serve organization, and we've had Lisa on a couple of social hours, the Society for Event Planners Restaurant Venues. They've got a Boston and a New York chapter, and they're great for networking and finding those people that you can reach out to in the industry. I'll put a link to them in the chat too.
Yeah, they're great. She was on a social hour too, and I think she talked like a little bit about how she started that group, which was really cool to hear.
She started it because she wanted to network and she couldn't go anywhere. There were no groups.
I love it.
And that is just going up on the chat.
Perfect.
Thanks, Azure.
And Lisa's really good about having in-person, when they're safe, in-person gatherings. It's been really helpful. She invites us from Triple Seat to those, and it's been great to meet other people, other customers, and talk to you guys face-to-face at these events. And they're held at different venues that are members. So it's a nice way to see those venues too.
Yeah, and what about, like speaking of going to like those networking events, is there anybody that has been going to industry events right now that they found helpful? No. See a couple heads shaking no. Me either. I know like whenever Holly joins these in Nashville, she says that they do like some in-person stuff, and I always thought that was interesting that they were still getting together like socially distanced and safe in person, but it was great to hear that they were finding ways to do that with each other.
Well, I guess I had one question that Rachel and I were talking a little bit about beforehand, but kind of goes along with the networking side of things is mentors. And I think it's a pretty important thing given the world that we're in right now, is to kind of take a look at the mentors and the folks that we have in our lives. And I think that there may be some people on this webinar that might not think that they have a mentor, because I remember the first time that somebody asked me who my mentor was, I was like, I don't know, the people that are training me, I don't really have a mentor. Like, you think of it as like something official, but it's really not. It's somebody that just, you go to it for advice, that's helped guide you, that helps to get you to where you are in your career. But are there anybody that has any great mentors in their life that have helped them, kind of get through, what we've been going through in 2020, before all of this chaos happened, even just in your career itself? It could be, your boss, your manager, your GM, it could be your CEO, it could be, a celebrity, it could be, kind of anybody. The mentors, the sky's the limit in terms of, who those people are. But is there anybody out there that has some really great mentors that they'd want to share and kind of put out there for everybody? My good friend, who is a CEO for a restaurant group in the Boston area, started off as a dishwasher and grew his way to where he is today, and is an incredible leader and man. And he did a lot of things throughout my professional career that I would want to shake him, because I'd be like, why am I doing this? And I would never really kind of see the value in it until I realized a couple of years later, I would look back on it and be like, wow, I've grown a lot. And he would, kind of put the pieces together for me. So I always love to listen to stories like that, because I think it kind of helps you to kind of appreciate the people that are working next to you, appreciate the leaders that are kind of nudging you and, creeping up on your back every now and then, just to make sure that, you're doing well, and that you have any questions, that they're there for you. But stories like that, I think, are always rewarding to hear. So again, if you guys have anybody that you, and again, like I said, it could be a celebrity, it's somebody that, that you follow on Instagram that continues to motivate you every day. Whoever it is, I think it's important to identify who those people are and appreciate them. And, definitely share them to the masses so everyone can kind of learn and grow together, I think is good.
Yeah.
I think that the mentor thing I think it's a generational thing. I'm Gen X, and coworkers I've worked with that are younger than me know all about this, and they've been participating in it. And I had no idea that there was a mentor thing going on until talking with some younger coworkers. But it's interesting. One of these younger coworkers, I've been sort of in a mentor role to her, and another coworker of ours. So there's three of us women who kept in touch since this job. And it's just, gender wise, it's great to have this group of women that they come to me and I go to them too, to ask them advice on, things like how to ask for a raise. And we were texting back and forth about this last week. One of these women, was about to go into her annual review, and she's like, I know it's been a tough year, but I've been working overtime and going above and beyond. And so we were all trading advice, and she ended up getting the raise. And one of my sisters, she talks to me about this stuff too. And I helped her write a letter to get her a raise. So it's really nice to have these, coworkers that turn into lifelong friendships where you're still reaching out to each other for advice. And it really works. It's so great to have these people to bounce these questions off of and ask for their experience.
Yeah, I feel like I am in that similar situation too, where I have like old coworkers or friends that reach out, and it's actually like really funny because they'll be like, "Oh, you're just so good at like writing resumes. Will you look at mine?" And I'm like, when did I become this like the go-to person for this? But it's like kind of super flattering. And then in the chat we had Lila said that she's met a few in a networking group that she's part of, and that's great. If you feel comfortable letting us know what kind of networking group that is, that'd be super helpful. And then Joe wrote that Tribe International is an international organization dedicated to the work of initiating and facilitating intentional relationships amongst women who believe in living vulnerably, unashamedly, and courageously.
That sounds like a good one.
I've never heard of that, but that's so cool.
And the good part too is like the good that you find from the craziness that we're in right now is a lot of these places are offering, like a lot of organizations and groups of the sort are offering like either super discounted or free trial type memberships and, resources for folks to kind of get in there and get a gist of things. So I obviously highly recommend taking advantage of, taking a look around now to see, an organization that may be a paid membership typically may not be a paid membership right now. Like they could just be having it open to everybody just to kind of get everybody working together. But that is awesome.
Yeah, I'm a part of MPI. I know a couple other people are too. And I think even if you aren't a member, you can still, like when we could go to in-person events, you just pay like a small fee. I know some across the nation, some chapters have it better than us. I used to have a coworker in Houston, and like their MPI was like, her events were just so much different than what we were getting up here in New England. So it was always funny comparing notes. But oh, that's so awesome. Joe just said that they're in person today is for MPI. I'm so jealous. We're only doing virtual up here still, but I love that group, and it's so funny. It's just like the people that are like in there, your paths cross, and you didn't even realize like there's people from my college that are part of it that I see like out in those events. So it's always like cool to reconnect and then see where those relationships goes. And I think that's one of the beauties of networking.
I am someone who is not my personal mentor, although I wish she were, which is she's a celebrity. If anybody's ever heard of Brene Brown.
Oh, love her.
Yes,
Love her.
she's so great. So if you don't know her, she's like a researcher with like a specialty in empathy and shame, but she's like a famous author. Now she has a podcast. She has a really famous TED Talk. It's like one of the most famously downloaded TED Talks. But she does a lot on like leadership, and I just find her so inspiring. And like so many things, if you're a manager of people, like are so relevant to how you manage those people and teams and have empathy for people. And like, especially right now in this atmosphere, having empathy for clients and customers. And it's super duper interesting. She's so great. And there's so many places to like listen to her. I'm a big fan.
Oh yeah, she's awesome. I've definitely watched that TED Talk. We'll have to include it.
I think that's a good leeway into our
next kind of poll.
Yeah.
Awesome. Let me pull that up.
So the next one's on education. What kinds of continuing education do you like to do? Again, it's a multiple choice. We have webinars, certification courses, events and conferences, books, podcasts, TED Talks, none, or other, and share.
We'll just give everyone like a couple minutes or seconds. All right. Cool.
Awesome. So we have, looks like most people like to go to events and conferences and to listen to podcasts and TED Talks. Next up is webinars, then certification courses, and then books last, which makes me sad because books is my number one thing. This is great. So with that, does anybody have, so things have been pretty virtual. Are there any conferences or events or webinars that people have been joining or going to that you can share with us? I know a lot of conferences that are typically in person, like Inbound earlier this year, they actually opened it up to go for free. Like I said earlier, Google's been doing a lot of certification stuff for free. There are a lot of really great resources out there that are, complimentary or extremely discounted to help, industry professionals kind of just get out there and continue to grow themselves during these crazy times. But is there anybody that has any conferences that are upcoming or anything, early next year or going into 2021 that you want to share with us?
I know a lot of the Triple C people did the virtual refab conference that I thought was really good. And I like how they did it where it was like an hour a day for like a couple of weeks or whatever it was.
I'll just throw in there that if anyone's looking for in-person experiences, an unexpected source for that is Meetup. And I know like people usually look to Meetup to find book clubs and things like that, and I definitely use it for that. But I have gone to industry things marketing wise because I'm on the marketing team, but I've been able to meet with small groups of people. So with Meetup, you can control how many people are invited to some of these in-person events. So there are some things there where there might be just a couple people meeting at a time, but I've made some great connections going to industry Meetup things.
Yeah, and then I do still MPI again. I know they have like a lot of like free webinars and stuff, and I've been doing a lot of those, which I really like. And then Jenna, I know you said you're a big fan of like podcasts and these
So
audio
books. Podcast is new to me, so I am open to suggestions for podcasts outside of Triple Seats, Two Chicks, Three Seats podcast. Nice plug. But in terms of books, like I have, and this will be part of the resource that we send out to everyone afterwards, which really gets me excited, is I have like this, I call it a library, but it's like a laundry list of audiobooks, like TED Talks, short articles, and I have it all categorized by like topic, if that makes sense. So there's like psychology, productivity, and habits. There's sales and marketing, sales building, self-improvement, and then like hiring, recruiting and training. So they go kind of outside, the sales manager, sales and marketing type process. And they kind of go, some of them go a little bit deeper into like leadership and self-care essentially. But I think that a lot of our growth and our career advancements come from having a lot of confidence in yourself and, an ability to kind of be honest with yourself in terms of what your next steps are going to be. So I highlighted a couple that I wanted to talk about just here. One of which is a short read that we'll send out to you guys afterwards, which is also a book. And I'm sure some of you folks may have heard of this, but it's called The 40% Rule, which is the Navy SEAL's secret to mental toughness. And it's been a while since I've read it, but I believe it was based on a Navy SEAL. It was a man doing pull-ups. And he said that once he got to whatever number it was, he knew that he was at 40%, even though he felt like he couldn't go anymore. He was shaking. He knew that he was at 40% and his mind could keep him to go to like, let's call it 100 pull-ups. So it's all about like tricking your mind and your mentality into, continuing to go on, which I think in terms of where we are right now in the world, I think it's a good resource and a good book. The short reads, obviously the cliff notes of it, which is really great, but it's a good way of kind of, taking a step back, kind of having a beginner's mindset. And a lot of us have had to be really creative and tricky with how we've kind of moved things about over the past couple months, this past year, but reading these these books or listening to these books or listening to these podcasts, these things that we might not typically listen to, that's all about, rewiring your brain and how you think, what I think is really cool to kind of see things differently, especially in a world that's ever changing and continuously changing right now. Another one's Atomic Habits. And I think as sales leaders, and I'm guilty of this 100%, you just get into such a routine, and especially for somebody that's been doing it for a really long time, you wake up, you know what you do, you have XYZ and you go about your day, and it's just copy and paste every single day, every day. Once you realize what your habits are and kind of rewiring your habits, I think is a really great way to improve yourself personally and professionally. So Atomic Habits is a great one. It's just, encouraging you to get 1% better every day. So it's, whether it's, I can't think of an example off the top of my head right now, but whatever that goal is that you want to work on for yourself, whether it be personal or professional, helps you, whether it's waking up and saying, I'm going to do, my Peloton every day for 30 minutes before I start my day, because that's going to wake me up, and, that's what it's going to be. You want to, create better morning habits so you have a more productive work day. These books are like, you get kind of obsessive over them, at least I do, and everyone at Triple C is probably laughing at me because I'm such a nerd when it comes to my books, but I think it's always a great way of, even if you read something and then you reread it like a year or two later, you pick things out and you see how you've grown, and I think it's really a really great way to kind of keep yourself fresh, keep yourself growing. A old boss of mine way back in the day, I said that I wanted to go back to school to get my master's in whatever program I wanted to go back to at that given time. And he told me to save my money and pick up a book. And at the time I was like, wow, that was really rude. But I now thank him because he saved me probably thousands of dollars on, getting a degree when I learned just as much by picking up a book and learning. So I think, and I mentioned this earlier, I was unemployed for a couple months earlier this year. I had listened to a lot while I walked every day, and I would just listen to audiobooks, and I read a lot about, the hiring process and, just the sales world in itself. And I think it just kind of took me out of where I was and helped me get to where I am today. It kind of helps you restructure your brain and rewire things a little bit. So that's my long-winded way of saying I love books. Which Chris mentioned, Brene Brown, she's one of my favorite. She's a powerhouse, but we'll definitely share this list of things. And, again, there's short reads, there's TED Talks, there's longer books in there, which are great. But if you guys have any resources or any books that you guys enjoy, definitely send that our way, because we can add that to this list. You can put them in the chat. I think that having this library, if you will, of resources for sales professionals and, event planners, meeting planners, whatever it may be, it's just a great way of kind of, having that as a resource. And for those of you that are on Influitive, which is our kind of our networking group with Triple C, we are going to be putting together kind of like a library portal, if you will. So we can kind of, if anyone's reading same books or reading these same articles, we can kind of network and talk about it with each other, which I think is always fun to do as well.
I know. I never think of whenever I listen to podcasts, they're always about murder. They're not about career growth.
Me too.
I'm like, oh wait, there's a whole other genre I could get into probably.
I've been listening to true crime, plane crashes, and cults. Those are my
I didn't even know there
topics.
were educational resources until last year. Podcast rather. I was like, because I would listen to the same, and then somebody sent me a marketing one or a sales one, and I was like, oh wow, I can do this too. So that's why I say podcast is new to me, but I'm with you on the murder ones. Those are great. The guilty pleasures, right?
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's see. I'm trying to think of any other courses or things that I take, but I think you kind of wrapped it all up in a good way. I know we had talked about some other places that offer free courses, like LinkedIn I know has a bunch right now too, and doing things maybe a little outside of your comfort zone is always a good idea. Maybe if you're on the sales side, doing some on marketing or things like that.
Has anyone heard of Udemy?
I
It's
have.
like an online educational place as well. It's like you pay per course. It's a bunch of courses and they're extremely discounted right now. Or as an organization, you can buy like a team membership, but they have anywhere from like 2-hour to like 15-hour long courses that you take and you get certified. So they have like a lot of sales ones. They have a lot of marketing, like SEO type stuff. They also have a lot of like content stuff, which is great for if you're taking this time to really build your brand in writing. As you mentioned earlier, blogging is a really great tool to kind of get yourself out there, yourself and your business out there. But Udemy is a really great. I don't think there's anything free on there, but they are extremely discounted right now, which is a great resource as well. And it's Udemy, Udemy.
Yeah. Or if you guys just are like, if you're ever like, is there like a course anybody like wants to take, but they don't really like know where to find it or something, or like a topic that they're more interested in taking on? I'm curious to find out like what other things people are interested in learning about. So if you want to like throw those in the comments. And then Jenna, I think we can move on to getting some fun updates from the group. So I have another poll, kind of just to see where everybody's at, like with their events and things that are happening right now, just because we always like to talk about that. And I know somebody earlier in the chat had a question about virtual stuff. So I think this is kind of a good segue too. So we all know the holidays are coming up. And we're just kind of curious of what everyone's venues are up to. I know we usually save like the last couple 10, 15 minutes of social hour to just like get updates from everyone. So I'll just give everyone a minute to answer. All right. So Jenna, can you see it?
Yeah. My computer just did a weird freeze. So it looks like most is offsite catering. And then we have virtual experiences, and then a lot of people said other and share in comments.
Yeah, and I know earlier somebody had asked, is anyone having success selling virtual event packages in place of holiday parties this year? Chantel says several focus directions. We're doing a lot of in-store, off-site, and to-go biz. Yeah, I think that's definitely what we're seeing too. And then Azure, you kind of just did a nice survey about this topic too.
Yeah, we're finding a lot of people, I can put the link to that in the chat too. Of course, a lot of people are eating at home this year, and a lot of people are opting for catering instead of going, cooking it themselves or relying on potlucks or Friendsgiving. And, these kitchens, like I said on our marketing team chat a couple of days ago, I mean, these kitchens are regulated and inspected, and if they inspected mine, they would shut it down. So I would rather order from one of the restaurants than make it myself. But yeah, people are definitely going for the takeout. And if you're promoting that, make sure you are reaching out through your marketing to tell people about it. And I would also recommend coming up with different size portions than you usually do, scale it down a little bit, because people might be having a lot fewer family over this year. So instead of a huge Thanksgiving dinner that people can pick up, bring it down to 6 people, 4 people. I will be ordering Thanksgiving for 2 because it's just me this year, and then I get to have leftovers. So
Perfect.
I'm okay with buying a little more.
And then Colleen in the chat just said that they are planning in-person parties, but in Washington State, they just got shut down, indoor dining again. And yeah, unfortunately, I think that's a lot of what we're seeing happen across the country with like the second wave. But it sounds like offsite catering and virtual experiences are way to go. And it's definitely like what a lot of like corporate planners are looking for. So does anybody else want to share what they've been doing at their restaurant? Has anybody?
I'm curious to see if anybody's invented any New Year's Eve virtual things. You know, those would be fun once you put all the noisemakers and stuff in there and champagne flutes.
Yeah, right.
That's so creative.
Anybody?
Everyone's going to be drinking straight tequila on New Year's Eve, getting ready to toast 2020 behind us.
Who's waiting till New Year's Eve to do that? I thought that was all of quarantine. I thought that was just since March. That's just what we've been doing.
Pretty much is.
Yeah.
Chantel has asked, any idea where corporate planners are searching to find us? I'm trying to think. There's not really like a website that I would use, but you know, I kind of have to plug our Event Up and Venues platforms because I know other planners do use that. Like I just had a friend who had to source like 32 different venues across the US, and I know she used Event Up to find a lot of those venues. So that's a good resource, just making sure any directories that you're listed on are up to date. I think is a great place to start. I don't know if anybody else has any other good ones.
No, I think in terms of, and I believe Azure wrote a couple blogs about this earlier, really utilizing this time to update, like Rachel said, your website and any online listings, and write a lot about what it is that you are doing, because that will help with your rankings when people are searching for things like that. So if you are doing a lot of virtual stuff, if you're doing, you know, to-go kits or catering, trying to find anywhere and everywhere where you can write about it. So when folks are, you know, Google searching, I know you're asking for corporate planners, but if someone is, you know, searching for whatever topic that is that you're, you know, really kind of looking for, the more content that you have out there for that, the better it will be for you to rank, which I think is the easiest way to kind of get that done. But that's all I can think of to add to that as well.
Then does anybody on the call want to share about like an event they did recently or what kind of leads they're seeing? Or any questions for the group? I'll just ask one more time. All right. If not, that's okay. So we're actually getting to the end of time anyway. I've made this social hour 45 minutes just because I know we're getting towards the end of the year. Everyone's busy. We all kind of have to get back to it. So thank you everyone for joining us and sharing. As always, we do look forward to chatting with you guys and sharing all these resources and seeing what everyone's been up to. So I do have a couple extra resources to share with you guys. I know we actually mentioned a lot, but I'll just throw all the links in the chat. So we do have a podcast, 2 Chicks, 3 Seats. It's like a great, quick, I guess, update on what's going on in hospitality from Kate Kennedy and Rachel Calkins, who are on the marketing team. And we also have a Facebook event managers community. I'll throw that link into the chat as well. That's just a great space to, like, if you ever have a question about, I know recently somebody had asked, like, you know, what kind of COVID cancellation clauses are people putting in their contracts? Like, if you just want to get a pulse or a gauge on what other people are doing, it's always great to just go in and ask questions. And if everybody wouldn't mind filling out the social hours survey. I would really appreciate it. Oh, sorry, the Facebook link's broken. Azure, could you put in the new Facebook link? I think the one I have doesn't work.
And I'm going to add one for Seated Magazine, which went live yesterday.
Yeah, do you want to talk about Seated?
Yeah, so we usually do a printed version of Seated and a digital. This time it's just digital, but you can check it out on Issuu, ISSUU. I just put the link in there. We've got a lot of great kind of inspirational stories of a couple of customers like Jester King Brewing, Etch, and the Sands Hotel and Spa about what they've been doing, implementing some great new ideas to bring back some business after COVID. And then we have some career tips, marketing tips, event tips, food and beverage articles in there as well. So check that out. We'll be posting more of those individual stories on social media in the weeks to come, but very excited to have that out and hope you guys will find this information really helpful.
Yeah, first digital version.
First digital version. We always have a digital version, but this time no print.
First digital only.
Yeah, digital only.
All right, well, I'll let everyone get back to their day jobs. Again, thank you for joining us, and we look forward to talking to you guys all again soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.